What's up, y'all? It's Ty. In this video, we're going to be looking at Kobe Bryant's on-court impact during his peak. Shout out to Thinking Basketball for all of these videos. If you missed out on any of our previous 9 reactions to these, D-Rob, Hakeem, Kareem, Bill Russell, make sure to go watch them as well. Again, massive shout out to Thinking Basketball. Let's get it. Kobe Bean Bryant.
After Michael Jordan retired, there was a race to crown the heir apparent, the next dominant shooting guard who could score, pass, and defend. As we saw last episode, Kobe certainly fit that bill when he was young. 360-degree dunks, wild shots, and some huge defensive plays under Phil Jackson's tutelage. And that led Bryant to be seen as a Michael Jordan redux because of his build and style. But the thing is, he wasn't the next Michael Jordan. He was the first Kobe Bryant.
I love it, man. You can't, it's even now, people are like, we're trying to compare Ant to MJ. Just let people be themselves, man. These videos are immaculate. Again, massive shout out to Thinking Basketball.
What's up, my man?
This is my man. This is my man. This is Showboat. We call him Showboat, but y'all know him as Kobe Bryant. This is my main man.
Mark my words.
Now, and I said this earlier in the season. It's going to be unbelievable.
Kobe was one of the most versatile, robust scorers in league history.
Do y'all realize how hard it would be to go into the league at the age of 18 years old? So hard to do.
He was kind of like a scoring artist, painting the court in just about every way possible. There were highlight finishes in the air, crafty, creative hoops. That's a street ball move in a playoff game.
What's that? And
everything else. Fadeaways with his back to the basket, pull-up jumpers from the mid-range, pull-up jumpers from 3, even up fakes that sent opponents straight to the house of highlights. To illustrate this scoring diversity, take a look at the shot charts of the leading scorers around this time. Larger hexagons mean more attempts, so you can see LeBron's largely rim dominant, and dark red indicates a higher shooting percentage compared to league averages. Now here's Kobe. For better, and sometimes worse, he scored from anywhere and everywhere. Some of this blossomed out of necessity. He didn't have MJ's first step or LeBron's bionic size and strength at the hoop. In 2006, a 28-year-old Bryant had a good first step and fluid, high-level athleticism to build off of as a base. He was quick enough to punish slower players or big men out of water. He turned the corner on Tim Duncan like this a few times in the 2008 Western Finals.
He's going right around Timmy D.
But he couldn't just blast by players like certain guards who relied on quickness. And it wasn't really acceleration that made Kobe a dangerous penetrator. He used craft, guile, and feel, a little hesitation to start a drive, and he loved this hard spin back at the rim. He heads right here, but is cut off, so the spin sheds the defender, and then off the wrong foot adjusts under LeBron to finish.
So tough.
Here it is in transition, the hesitation, and then feeling the defender recover, he spins back hard and leads with his body for free throws.
Like, y'all realize, like, the body control that takes?
These counters took remarkable balance and body control along
with... I'm smart, man. I'm telling y'all. I'm smart. I say it to y'all realize the body control, and that's what he just says. It's crazy.
Great instinct. Kobe was only around 6'5", barefoot, and he couldn't always elevate over defenders at the hoop. So instead, he might absorb contact while contorting to release a shot, although that didn't work every time. Instead, he was snake-like at slithering into different angles to release the ball in traffic. His crossover was sharp enough to shake opponents, and Kobe senses a recovering Duncan and angles it right up on the glass. But this time the finish is different. He's strong enough to stay balanced without losing Bruce Bowen, but because Duncan is stationed under the hoop, Kobe throws his body into him and banks it at his apex. This is subtle, but his intuition helped him audible at the rim. When attacking big men in space, he liked that in and out dribble, and then altered his stride length as needed approaching the goal.
These are tough finishes,
Perhaps
man.
The ultimate example of his malleable finishing was his instinct for flowing to the other side of the rim, where he'd throw off a potential shot blocker's timing by striding into a reverse layup. Now, these hesitation moves were so effective because defenses were worried about his pull-up, and he could play these threats off each other. As the screen comes over, Duncan and Bowen are worried about this shooting pocket, and Bryant uses that against him with a nasty cross. Yet, the threat of a dribble drive was enough to create airspace for his jump shot. Defenders had to sell out hard on his mid-range game, and that could be a problem for slower-footed opponents. Kobe had these fundamentals down. Note how many of his moves come from a triple threat position and involved up fakes or jab steps, and he was
The thing about it, though, is he's just getting to his spots. Like, that's a tough shot, but that's an easy
so
shot for Kobe.
proficient getting to his spot and then rising.
And look, he just talking about getting his, like, I think, like, thinking basketball
Up.
again, Smith.
He could also fire fairly accurate shots off a variety of setups,
But, like, these are tough shots, but for Kobe, they're not.
to his right or left from just about anywhere on the floor. That one was a long two, and Kobe trafficked in these jumpers just inside the arc, which made for impressive shot making, but also suppressed his overall scoring efficiency. From 2006 to 2008, he attempted more two-point shots outside of 15 feet than anyone in the NBA. But he only made 41% of them, which is exactly what the rest of the league made on these shots during that period.
Kobe's are tougher, but yeah.
Kobe's scoring numbers during those seasons were the best of his career, but his efficiency lagged a touch behind some of the other huge volume scorers.
That's one thing I've always had against Kobe is his efficiency. Like, I've always, I don't even know if I held it against him, but like, when you're talking, rest in peace, Kobe Bryant, guys. Like, it's the first and foremost thing I gotta say before, you know, getting into critiquing his game. But like, yeah, the efficiency is one thing I've always kind of like been like, oh, well, it's not great.
In this
Not
series,
great.
in
Not great at
part
all.
because he bled some value by not making those long shots worth 3 points when they went in. He was a bit ahead of the curve with his pull-up three-pointer, able to make a respectable 35% of these at decent volume. Many of his shots were really difficult, often scoring despite a large hand in his face.
Man, that's ridiculous.
Videographers have sliced together edits of Jordan and Kobe making similar shots, but on this one, Kobe's is way harder, going off of his wrong foot and double clutching before
Again, the body control. That's what I'm so impressed with.
shooting. For my money, Bryant is the best tough shot maker in league history,
I think that's a
or
correct
certainly the
statement.
most prolific. He'd regularly drill jumpers with a hand in his face and almost no airspace, and sometimes he'd fire these at all kinds of crazy
And you're noticing, it's with the shot clock at 5. Like, if you're shooting 41% from the mid-range with the shot clock at 5,
angles. He's lost all momentum here, and his feet are actually crossed when he jumps, but hey, no biggie.
just ridiculous.
We saw some of this feel with Larry Bird in episode 4. Subtle little adjustments to change the arc of a shot in a tight spot, and this concentration was especially prominent on the backside of his
Like,
offensive
again, look at the shot clock with all of these shots.
peak at the end of the 2000s, where it was a touch harder to generate clean looks, so this shooting adaptability took over.
Man. That's ridiculous.
He could just come to a stop and pump fake players into oblivion and then shoot without any momentum, which is crazy difficult. On many of these, he's jumping from a complete standstill to find just enough room to arc it in. And he could trap defenders with these up fakes, which helped boosted his free throw rates, especially during these peak seasons.
What I like, though, is he's not like a foul merchant. Like, he's not jumping into people.
Slightly behind the all-timers, but
He's
still
really
went to the
not.
line more than most players. He was also an early practitioner of the rip-through move. As we discussed in episode
Rip-through move kind of is a foul
8
merchant
with
move.
Hakeem
It is what it
Olajuwon,
is.
these difficult shot attempts helped Kobe's playoff scoring numbers compared to his regular
They should.
season
They
ones,
should go up.
because he could still generate moderately efficient shots almost on demand, even against stingier postseason defenses. Of course, he could score with his back to the basket out of the post, where that balance and body control blended with his footwork quite nicely.
Just
He
ridiculous
pivots into a
shot
tough shot
making.
here, but he could just as easily swirl into the lane in the same situation. He went to his postgame a bit more by the end of the 2000s, and he was sturdy enough to bang into little turnarounds, or even use the threat of his fadeaway
But
to
the thing is, he's just getting to where he wants to get to.
set up defenders for the old up and under. In
Over
a
the
sense,
right.
Kobe and Shaq were scoring opposites. O'Neal dominated with incredibly high percentage shots, whereas Bryant couldn't quite assault the rim with the same frequency, so he propped up his scoring with versatility and resilient shot making. But if there's one thing we've seen throughout this series, it's that scoring alone doesn't make someone a great player.
But what I'm seeing is
facts. He's got to make the right read.
seeing an opportunity to really demolish the spirit of their team by attacking Carmelo offensively. After watching this game, I was really, really upset with myself. I don't see Trevor sitting over there on the wing. Trevor's arms, after the shot goes up, he didn't pass it to me. Damn it.
In the 2008,
But like that's a simple read. Like that's not even a hard pass. But getting your teammates involved is super important. Keeping them engaged.
Finals, the Celtics' suffocating defensive scheme defanged Bryant, clogging his driving lanes and inviting him to take jumpers. The Celtics overloaded his side when he had possession, and this kind of early rotation would have been illegal defense in the 80s or 90s, yet it was a strategic departure from what other high-end teams tried against the Lakers during their deep playoff runs.
Look at this shot.
For instance, in the 09 finals, Orlando played these driving lanes straight up, relying on rotations after Kobe penetrated. Without a lightning-quick first step to escape these gambits, or great size to pressure the rim.
But look at how much attention he's getting.
The Celtics held Kobe to 51% true shooting and shaved 5 points off his 2008 and 2009 playoff scoring. A good reminder that playoff matchups can heavily influence numbers.
Tough shot.
Boston also banked on Kobe looking to score in some of these tight spots instead of repeatedly passing. The exact point Kobe discussed in that clip against Denver when he missed the kick out to Trevor Ariza.
Like, it's just you're not gonna. And I know Kobe makes tough shots, but like, just move the ball. I know the shot clock is so low in these situations, and I guess here you have a decent chance for an offensive rebound. But would you rather shoot this, or I think it was Sasha Vujacic at the top of the key for three?
Here he's covered by a bigger man
but
and forces a tough fadeaway into a packed paint instead of kicking it out to a good shooter. Much like we saw in episode 6 with Michael Jordan, Kobe was always a little over-calibrated towards shooting versus playmaking. Here he has 2 corner options when Phoenix
Like, come on, man.
collapses into the paint, but probes for an
Or even hit the wide open guy. I think it's Lamar Odom at the top of the key. Anything. You're at 19 on the shot clock.
extra beat, and it's a turnover. I don't think this small imbalance chipped away at too much value because Kobe could make some of these double-teamed shots, and the rest of the time he was looking to punish defenses who loaded up on his scoring like this by finding
It does make the defense commit even more attention to you when you do make tough shots.
open teammates. He was tactical and often patient about getting opponents to commit to then free up a shooter. As that Nuggets series progressed,
No way Derek Fisher just took a long 2 there. Just get your feet behind the line.
2009, whenever Denver slid a defender down to spy on him, he opted for the kickout pass more and more. The year before against the Celtics, there were certainly moments where he missed early passing chances as he hunted for scoring angles that didn't end all that well. Yet, even in that series, he made plenty of early reads. A defender is slid way over into his driving lane here, so he shuffles it to the open shooter.
What was the defensive game plan there? That was horrible.
Kobe was known for his studiousness, and he could certainly read and react to how teams shifted toward him in order to generate easy shots for his bandmates.
Why did he not shoot it right away?
He shot into plenty of double teams, but he dissected a ton as well. Boston sends help, and these 2 defenders are covering 3 Lakers, and Kobe threads a dart into the lane for free throws against the Claw.
That was a great pass.
Kobe grew up idolizing Magic Johnson, and while he wasn't his equal, he dropped some gorgeous dimes from time to time. Or would-be dimes.
Yo, pal, can we finish and get Kobe an assist?
Some of these passes in dynamic, non-traditional situations demonstrated a strong ability to map the court, and his athleticism helped with a variety of passing deliveries. Here he feels the help in the air, looks for his big man, and just tries to slap it in his direction.
Damn!
Most of his best passes were to big men like this. There's that patience to wait for help to leave Pau Gasol, and this one takes even
can Pau finish a layup?
Sharper vision, finding the rim runner with a jump pass to the front of the cylinder. Over the course of
That's
his
just knowing ball, though. Knowing the Celtics didn't have one of their bigs down.
career, Kobe's best, most consistent pass was probably the laydown, something he always had great feel for. Occasionally he'd shoot in these spots, but if he sensed a defender coming over on a drive, he'd usually hone in on his open big man. Here he spots a teammate on the backside, maybe the perfect pass arrives now, but Kobe knows if he collapses the zone, an easier angle will emerge, so he airdrops it over for the layup.
I've never, like, the defensive gravity Kobe had was ridiculous.
And hey, Walton's back. Sort of. Where were we? Laydowns? Kobe would carve these out and then was able to deliver at a variety of angles depending on the situation.
The defensive,
going with
attention
soft
is
lefty
ridiculous.
lob here after being corralled on his drive. The other option in those spots was the kick out, where if defenders pinched down from the perimeter, he could spray it back out for three-point practice.
It's literally wide
After
open.
2 hesitation moves, he runs into a wall here, but since the guard sinks in to help on Gasol, the kickout becomes the weakness to exploit. Using our best estimates, Kobe created plenty of shots like this for teammates, ranking behind only Jordan, James Harden, LeBron James, and Tracy McGrady among non-point guards. Point guard is
It's literally shooting practice, though.
sort of a misnomer here, since these are all lead guards spearheading the entire offense as dual threats. For instance, Kobe ran plenty of spread pick and roll. Notice all the extra space compared to prior episodes, and he could score or play make out of this action. He didn't really have an ideal pick and roll partner before Gasol, although Andrew Bynum's emergence as a role threat provided a little chemistry in 2007. When Pau did arrive in 08,
Andrew Bynum, man, it's just sad. He could have been special.
Kobe ran the two-man game with him
Telling
more
you he
frequently, and he could pop or roll comfortably next to Bryant. There's a little manipulation from Kobe by using the no-look pass to hold the defender. That one didn't always work, but it shows the capacity for higher-level ideas. He could also make the little pocket pass. This one is
No way Kobe got mad at Pau Gasol for chucking it out of bounds, right?
delayed until the big commits to Kobe, and then he threads the needle beautifully. And while he didn't anticipate tons of passes, he could drop wonderful dimes after reacting to the defense. The big man contests, so
play
he
by Pau
audibles
Gasol
by
right here.
bouncing it through a tight window.
To not get this stolen, it's a good finish.
The Kobe Pau pick and roll was a nasty option to fall back on late in a possession. That look-away technique holds the help defense. This time it's successful and Pau could pass off the roll too. On this one, the defense sits on Gasol's roll, so Kobe whips it to Lamar Odom, who makes the extra pass, and both Laker big men could
Good
pass
ball.
or finish in these spots. 2008 was a huge upgrade in roster construction from prior seasons, where mediocre shooters and passers flanked Kobe, Lamar, and utility big men. Odom was always able to create some offense and act as a secondary playmaker next to
That pass is ridiculous, Lamar
Kobe,
Odom.
but Gasol took the Lakers to another level with his diverse offensive package. His post-game made him an all-NBA level player, stocked with a full pantry of post moves that includes soft touches with his right and left hand around the basket. And after his arrival, the Lakers' offense exploded. From 2008 to 2010, LA's playoff efficiency was about 6.5 points better than what their opponents allowed in the regular season.
That's special. Big
Since
Pau.
Kobe's offense slowed down a bit, chopping off 2010 might better capture this team at its brief peak, a fantastic stretch that was a rung down from the all-time greats. There were a few holes in Kobe's passing game. He was willing to try tight passes. This one is picked off, but it's also a delivery issue where if he doesn't throw it higher, he needs to throw it earlier or with a different delivery angle altogether. He didn't really
That's good
whip
defensive play,
fastballs
though.
off the dribble at different angles like some players,
call
and
it
instead he often
offensive
tried some
foul.
of these
That's
tight
soft.
squeezes while in the air in lieu of shooting. These all might be audibles out of shots, but I wonder if he went to the jump pass because he wasn't that big. Size could bother him on traps and lead to some blind spots. We saw the much taller Lamar Odom make this exact pass a second ago, and Kobe was inconsistent
Shot
about
that?
hitting the roll man
The
on
shot clock had to be low there. That was
action
ridiculous.
when the defending big man jumped
It's a good
him
pass.
hard. He also missed some straightforward passes. That's there for the taking, and in my study, he mostly seemed to miss wings and smalls in these home run situations. So while he had some limitations as a passer, his
that guy is not open. Do not throw it to that. That's a turnover.
Playmaking was an enormous part of his offensive attack, but his offense wasn't nearly as polarizing as his controversial defense. Bryant's size was also a small factor on the defensive end. For instance, he had mixed results holding down the fort against bigger, stronger players in
With as much as Kobe had a workload offensively, defense, you can't expect him to be
post. There are some plays where the engagement isn't entirely there,
you can't
and then others where he battles hard with more success.
It's in the finals, so hopefully.
Similarly, Kobe wasn't much of a vertical presence around the basket. When he was near the rim, he often went to a swipe down move, and sometimes these connected beautifully and did the trick. On occasion, he'd turn a running start into a highlight block, but these high leverage plays were less common. Kobe averaged a block every other game during these years and only provided occasional rim protection as a guard. These rotations in the paint can provide tons of value for a wing, and Kobe could be floor bound on them, and he couldn't afford to arrive late in these spots. He should have rotated here once the double team arrived.
That was a good dunk, though. I mean, Kobe tried to protect the rim there.
Though in general, he was usually pretty buttoned up with most of his rotations, tagging the big man in pick and roll either from the baseline or elbow area. And this is a great sequence where he re-helps on the drive, then recognizes the corner is open and runs the shooter off the line.
That's a good rotation. That's picture perfect, man.
Unlike the facial he received a second ago, this time he's early helping the helper, and being early on these rotations is key for a wing versus a big man. He can deter the pass or deflect it, but arrive a step later and he would swipe for the ball, and that's a foul. Around 2007, Bryant emerged as a vocal leader on defense. You can see him pointing on this play as LA switches a number of actions here, and this was in conjunction with the Lakers playing more complex schemes. They zoned
it looks way more complex.
Up or switched the weak side constantly as the league adopted more pick and roll offense. Although these rotations weren't always super crisp, for example, he's a little late sliding here and that leads to a desperate closeout. In general, Kobe wasn't super active on the weak side like this.
But again, if your offensive workload is as much as Kobe's was, you can't expect his defense to be super crisp. You just can't.
Not making a ton of plays, that's sort of an errant gamble there. And when he staked out these situations, he was quite vulnerable to backdoor cuts. He was actually vulnerable to backdoors in general throughout his career, tracking the ball a bit too hard. And when zoning,
what was he doing there?
Too, he took a somewhat extreme stance toward the ball handler and could idle a bit. And this responsibility is really about anticipation and effort. It's what made Larry Bird dangerous in these spots. And I'm not sure Kobe had the motor to go full tilt on plays like these and carry his enormous offense.
That's what I'm saying. It's tough. We see it so much in the league. You can't play both ends at that high level. You just can't.
Back on offense, Bryant drained additional fuel by moving without the ball, regularly working for a better position in the post, and staying active in order to pressure defenses. When he was overplayed, he had a nice back cut himself to escape defenders, and he could comfortably flow into catch and shoot options in the mid-range. This meant he could fit well next to other high-level passers, but it also meant
Pau Gasol could pass the rock.
He couldn't rest much on offense. So without an all-time motor, Kobe couldn't go full throttle on defense for 40 minutes as well. Here he lapses for just a moment and loses contact with Ray Allen. They wisely switched him off Allen for the rest of the series after this. And while he could do solid work chasing players around, he wasn't ideal for this kind of task at this point in his career. He could get a bit stuck at times navigating around screens, especially against bigger screeners like this, although he was pretty good at dipping his shoulder around them and staying fairly connected to his man. His footwork in these spots wasn't always perfect. Big steps can make it tricky to bypass screens, but Kobe works hard to recover and stay in front
That's
of the
pretty
ball.
good defense. I'm not gonna lie, that's good D.
He couldn't always bring this level of intensity. He kind of hops his way out of position against a dangerous pull-up three-point shooter here. Although
okay,
when
Gil.
he did go all out, he could provide good point-of-attack defense. And this on-ball defense is what kept him on all defensive teams long after his defensive peak that we saw in the last episode. He was versatile guarding the perimeter, able to chip away a little at bigger forwards, and in particular,
I feel like Kobe defended when he wanted to defend.
Switch
Like,
onto
genuinely.
point guard.
Especially when he got a
had
switch.
fairly quick feet and used angles and his size
You can tell when Kobe wants to get a stop.
In their
You can tell.
2008 series,
Defense is all about effort.
Kobe had successful moments against the lightning quick Tony Parker, and here you'll notice he shades him left by design into the help. Bryant seems as studious and technical with his defense as he was with his offense, only he wasn't
Brady.
that disruptive as a defender, blowing up screening actions or flying into the lane to choke out advantages. This is a great bit of awareness in transition, sliding over to stop the ball, but plays like that were rare during these years, and Kobe's steal rate was around the 75th percentile historically, which was good but not great for a guard. As we've seen, he could attack the ball by pawing at it like this, although there were a number of plays where he was reaching for a steal, and that left him out of position.
I feel like that happens though. Like you can't get both. You can't reach and get a lot of steals and stay in front. Like, for example, Kyle Anderson, I don't want to compare, but like he reaches a lot, and when he does, he gets out of position.
In a 2007 game, Phil Jackson said he had some riverboat gambler in him, and while I don't think he gambled nearly as much as someone like Jordan, he had his fair share of whiffs. He liked to shoot the gap, and this was also how he collected some of his steals, and those interceptions were more memorable and look great on highlight reels.
That's
Kobe-
a big play though. I mean, in that type of a game, that's a huge play.
Also had his fair share of blow-bys off the dribble against quicker guards,
Oh my
although some
gosh.
great defenders can be susceptible to breakdowns like this, so I don't think they chipped away at too much of his value. Impact metrics like adjusted plus minus or PIPM tend to view him as around neutral on defense, and I think that's in the right ballpark given his lack of involvement in the paint and sporadic guarding of opposing.
It kind of reminds me of Anthony Edwards defensively. Like, the eye test says like he's a super good defender on ball and like when he wants to be, but overall just
guards.
decent.
But despite his lack of a defensive motor, I
He's
think
smarter than MJ, though. Or he's smarter than Ant, though.
his understanding of schemes combined with his versatility to provide effective point of attack defense against three positions makes him
Like, his positioning's way better than Ant's. Ant's just way more athletic. That's the thing.
a small positive on that end. The more interesting question is just how high were his offensive heights? He could be shot heavy at times, but his insane shot making provided a ton of resiliency.
And do you realize, like, how much his shot making affected defenses? Like, defense have to overload crazy, and that opens up so much else.
In the playoffs, after all, the only defense to really slow him down during those years was the historically great
Celtics, yeah.
While most
look at
of
those
his value
offensive
came with
percentiles.
the
That's
ball,
crazy.
his off-ball skills were strong enough to provide impact next to other high-level teammates. And so, while his defense might keep him from competing with the best of the very best,
We're talking about, like, MJ level.
it's easy to see why so many people view Kobe Bryant as one of the best offensive players to ever grace the hardwood.
Shout out to Thinking Basketball. For me, like, when I think of Kobe, I think of a tough shot maker. That's going to wrap it up. Drop a like on the video, subscribe if you're new, and as always, man, I love you guys. Have a blessed day.